Okay. Good morning, everyone. So we are going to continue with some basic functions of that working along with the property of class and object in C++. Okay. So in the last class, I have already discussed about the object creations. Okay, how what are the various kinds of how many ways we can create an object. Then we have discussed about the inline function in the last class, and we have also discussed about the static data members and static member functions. Okay, so let me just give you a reminder for the static data member which we have discussed in the last class. So if you remember, the static data member has a certain number of properties, and it is a such kind of a special kind of data member which can be used as a counter that record occurrences of all objects. And in static data members or variable, you have to initialize one, and how many objects you are going to create, that will not make an effect. Those objects, if share that particular static variable or static member, then they actually share the same memory space or common memory space, unlike the normal variable or non-static variable. Okay, so if you are going to create multiple objects for a particular class, for that particular static member, if you want to access through that multiple object 1 dot static member, object 2 dot static member, and object 3 dot static member, they actually share the common memory space. Okay, if you remember in the last class, I have already shown these things, but if you are going to do the same job for the non-static member, then it will create separate memory spaces and occupy separate sizes for that, for defined kind of values in your memory space. Okay, they will not be replaced like a static member. So static member, you don't need to initialize a static member. Okay, if you initialize, you can do it, but if you forget to initialize, then it will automatically initialize as 0. Okay, so unlike non-static member, static member is automatically initialized as 0. Okay, this is the first property. Second property, which we have already discussed, that only one copy of the static member is created for the entire class and shared by all the objects of that class. Okay, so how many objects you are going to create, that doesn't matter. So all the objects share the same memory space of the static member. Okay, so while you are accessing the,
Someone is waiting.
yes, someone is waiting. That's a problem in Google Classroom. We don't. Okay. The third property is that it is visible only within a class, but its lifetime is the entire program. Okay. The lifetime of the static member varies throughout the entire program. So I already did one program for you by which we can represent the some basic uses of static member. Static member means static data member and static member function. I hope you have understood in the last class. You have understood the use of static member functions. Okay. So if we are going to access a static member function, you don't need to create an object to access that static member function. Okay, you can directly access the static member function with the help of the class name. Okay, so what is the advantage of using static member function? That means you don't need to create an object. That's why you don't need to require to access, you get to occupy any memory space for that particular object. You can directly access that static member function with the class name, with the help of the class name in such a way. This is the way of accessing it. Class name, then scope resolution operator, then the static member functions. But please remember, this should be happened only for the static member function. This should not be allowed for the non-static member function. For the non-static member function or for the non-static variable, you have to create an object of the class, and by the help of that object, you are going to access, which we have already shown in multiple programs, right? So let's talk about one program. Look at the program very carefully. Here I have designed or defined one class item, okay, and I have defined two data members. Obviously, these are private data members I have defined. The first data member is an integer type count, and the second data member is the integer type number. So what is the difference between these two data members? The first data member is a static one because I have attached a static keyword in front of it, and the second data member is a non-static one. It's a normal data member, a normal data variable. And I have also defined three member functions. Okay. The first two are the normal member functions, and the last one is a static member functions. So obviously, by the help of this program, our objective is to show you the use of both static data variable and static member functions. Okay. Now, how we can access a static data variable. This is the way of accessing a static data variable. Just similar to a static member function, we can access a static variable in this way. So first we have to write the return type. So if you are going to return anything, so here in item, class item of this count variable, we are trying to return an integer type. So int item, then colon a count. What is count? Count is actually a static data member. So if you notice here, I didn't initialize the value of this data member here. Why? Because I want to show you the static data member is automatically initialized to 0, right? If I don't initialize, if I forget to initialize it, okay? So while you are calling this one, so I think this should be printed when you are calling this one, okay? So it is a static data member accessing statement. How you can access static data member by using a class name, then scope resolution operator, then a static data member, okay? Now, in the main method, I have created 3 objects, item A, B, C, for this item class. 3 objects, A, B, C, right? So 3 objects are responsible to access a non-static member function. These 2 are the non-static member function, get data and get count. Clear? So these 2 are the non-static member functions. So I have accessing these 2 non-static member functions separately with the help of these 3 objects, right? The first member function doesn't have any argument, and the second member function have different argument for the 3 different objects, right? So when we will pass this argument through the get data member function, so we will check the get data member function. So this argument will be passed through the help of this variable int A. Okay, suppose we are passing 50 while we are calling with the help of object A dot get data, then 50 will be passed through A, right? And this number will be assigned to A, which I have already shown to you in the previous program. That is the private variable which can be accessed through a public function by passing the value. Okay. Now we will do count plus plus. Okay. So some of you can think that, sir, what is the job of this count plus plus? What was the value we have initialized it? Obviously, we didn't initialize the value for the count. Why? Because count is a static variable. So it automatically initializes it as a 0. So on that 0 value, this count plus plus operation will be occurred, right? And there is nothing important to access this function. There is nothing left here. It will just print the count. Okay, it will just whatever value has been incremented here, that will be print by some other variable or other member functions. So one thing you should notice here, that count is a private static data member which will be accessed by any public function of this class item, right? And the last one is a static member function. How we can access a static member function? I have already shown you to access the static member functions, and static member function can be accessed in such a way: item, then scope resolution operator, then countable. Okay, so these are method of accessing a static member function. So just like a static data member, the static member function can be accessed in such a way. Okay, and this statement is actually just printing that get count for these functions. Okay, so if we will run this code, it will give you this value. Okay, so before reading the value was 0000, 3 count. Why 3 count? Because 3 objects are there, A, B, C. So 3 counts will be printed, and after reading, these 3 counts will be incremented, and it will be 3 different values A, B, C compared to the previous value. This is the initialized, automatic initialized value of the static 0, and this is the value after increment, right? After increment operation, and this is the execution of the static member method, which we have called without creating any object. These are static member functions. We have called this static member function without creating any object. Okay, or without using any object. So these are the objects are there. So we should not use any object to call this function, member function. Why? Because it is static in nature. Okay, so that is the overall advantages of using static members, right? Okay, now we are going to move on into our next topic, that is how we can create array of objects. Okay, what is array of objects and how we can create it? This is very simple. Okay, we have already created individual objects, right? Suppose if you remember the vehicle class, which we have already defined in last couple of classes. So in vehicle class, I have created three objects. Okay, if you remember, I created three objects: car 1, car 2, and truck. So suppose there are total 50 objects needs to be created. So obviously, I should not write the same line 50 times. Vehicle car 1, vehicle car 2, vehicle car 3, vehicle car 4, and vehicle car 50 dot dot dot. I should not write it. So how we can minimize this effort with a single line? We can minimize this effort of declaring multiple objects with the help of array of object concept. Okay, so how we can define array of objects? How we can define array of objects? Let's check the program. I have taken the same vehicle class program to replace this individual definition of individual objects with the help of array of objects, right? So here, let me do this one for you. That will be understanding clearly. So here, I have created an array of objects, right? How? By using this statement. Notice this statement very carefully. Class name, then give a space, then followed by an object name. Which one is our object name? Suppose our object name is car 1, car 2, car 3, and so on. So our object name is car. Okay, we will use, obviously, in array of objects, we cannot use defined even object name, which can be used in case of individual declaration, but we cannot use in case of array of objects. We have to use the same name because we have defined it once, right? And within the third bracket, we have used one variable to define how many objects, array of objects, you want to create. You can directly use a value here instead of this variable, or I have defined this variable as a constant type. I can define it so no one can change this variable size at any point of time in this program. So I have made this 3 variable. Why 3? Because here I have defined 3 variables. That's why I have made it 3. You can give any number as per your requirement. Okay. Now, how we can access the methods that we have defined of this vehicle class, methods or variables we have defined of this vehicle class with the help of this array of objects? We have to use a looping statement. I think you have already understood these things. We have to use a looping statement. Okay, either you can use a while loop or you can use for loop. So here in the for loop, I have running the looping variable I, declare the looping variable I starting from 0 to, it will run up to less than size. That means less than size, less than equal to size minus 1. That is equal to size minus 1. Okay, I equals to size minus 1. So up to size minus 1, starting from 0 to size minus 1, it will run. So size minus 1 means what? 3 minus 1, that means 2. So if it will start from 0, then 0, 1, 2 means 3 objects, right? So here we will access car of I, because I is a looping variable, so it will increment it at each and every position. So in the first case, it will be assigned. The gear changing function will be called for the first array of object, that is car of 0, right? Then the loop will be repeated again and incremented the value of I by 1. So the next gear changing function will be accessed by the next object, will be assigned as car of 1. Then the loop will repeat again I plus plus, and the I value will be incremented by 1. Now the I value becomes 2, and now the third object car of 2 will be accessed by gear changing. Now the loop will be repeated by 1, but it has been already reached the limit. So that's why the loop will not repeat again. It will ended the loop, terminated the loop, and the control of the program will be getting outside of this for loop and give a return 0. So this is the way of how the array of objects is using. Okay, you can use it. So if you run this code, the same thing has happened. So I have defined 3 objects. So here I have to define 3 times. Okay. So the first one for the family car, the second one for the sports car. Okay. Suppose 6 gears are there, and third one is for the suppose truck, heavy load cars. Okay. Suppose it has 5 gears. Okay. So this is the way of how we can create array of objects. Is it clear to everyone? Is anyone has any question?
Sir, can you go
Yes.
to that static member part?
Static member. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. The static, the 20, line number 25, sir.
Line number 25. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't understand this line, sir.
You can.
What if I not write this
Yes.
line?
Yes. 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 Int. Because static is actually no. You are accessing the static member here. You are accessing the static member here.
Mhm.
So I am calling the static member. If you don't write this line, then how can we access the count variable? Count is a static variable here. Okay, let me skip this line. Okay, clear. So you have to access the static member only by using this line. Clear?
It will initialize the value to 0. Is
Yes, yes, yes. It will
okay, but
actually make it accessible. It will actually, this line will help to make it accessible. Static data member, because it is static in nature. If it is not static, then you don't need to require this line.
means
Okay.
if I want to access the static member function, then I have to use this line.
You are
Else,
using the same thing. If you want to access a static member function, just similar.
this is yeah, this is to use in the main function. Like I want to that value. I want that value.
Yes, yes.
I'm
No,
using it.
you, you can actually, this is a main function because we are calling this one. You can also, I think you can also use it outside the main function.
Mhm.
Expected constructor destructor type conversion. Acha. Okay. Something. Can I use it inside the main function? Check it out.
No.
No. So that is the problem. Actually, in case of static, uh, while you are calling the static functions, um, that you have called from the main method or main function, right? So item,
Okay.
scope resolution, then countable. Okay. So by the help of, without creating object, you can call this static member function. Okay. But in case of static data member, you cannot call it from the main function because here,
Static data members.
yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
One thing is there. Acha, the problem is that this static data member you have defined as a private. I think if you have defined this as a public, I think it will not create any problem. Let's check it out. If we define the static member as a public, no, qualified in declaration increment. So actually, so it is clearly stated here that static member always should be accessed outside the main. Okay, whether you have defined it as a public or private. Okay, and the member methods, static member functions should be accessed within the main function. Okay.
Okay, means like if I want to use that static data member outside the class, okay, then we have to use this line.
Yes. Yes.
Else like if I like say to use a static data member in increment of array like ARR 0, then ARR 1, then we can use it.
Yes. Yes. We can use it. We can use it.
Means this line is specified that it will initialize the value to 0.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
okay, this line.
It will helps to just initialize the starting access of the static data member.
Okay.
Means it will connect the class item with the static data member with initialize 0.
Okay.
Understand?
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Anyone has any question regarding this array of objects? Okay. I hope that there is no question. Now we are going to discuss a very, very important concept. Okay, one more concept is there that I need to just tell you, that uh, how we can pass the object as a function argument in C++. Object as a function argument in C++. There are two ways by which we can pass the object as a function argument. One as a call by value, another one as a call by reference. Just like you have passed the variables in C programming with these two types. Okay, similarly, we can pass the object. So let me show you the most basic one, that means call by value, how we can pass object as a call by value. You should try this program at your home. Okay, I'm not doing this one. You should try this program at your home. So here I have defined one class square. Okay, where I have defined one private variable x, one public function get data, right? One private variable x and one public function get data. Now, within this get data, while we are calling this function through the object from the main class, we have passed some value, okay, as a of that variable, and that will be received by the local variable m here, and that will be assigned to its class variable x equal to m. Okay. Now here I have defined one more function, public function, within the same class square. Okay. And this public function is little bit different. Why? Because it's argument. Let's check out the argument very carefully. In the argument, what you have found, instead of declaring any variable here, we have declared one object of that class square. One object of that class square. So while we are calling this answer function from the main method, we have to pass an object of the square class instead of a variable value. Okay. Now this object, what is the way of accessing a variable through an object? The way of accessing a particular variable through an object is always object dot variable. That all of you know, that object dot member function, object dot variable. Without dot operator, we cannot access any variable through an object, right? So the same job is working here. Object dot variable x into object dot variable x, that is x. Okay, because here it will calculate the x square. Okay, side square. Okay, side square, that means x square. And there is another method, public method show, where the output of the area of the square has been printed, right? So that is the overall class declaration or definition, what I will say. Now this is the main method. So I have my main objective is to calculate this area of square for the two different square objects. So that's why I have created two different square objects, S1 and S2. Here, now we have called the get data method. It's a normal method without passing any object. It will directly pass the variable value. So we will pass the variable 6 that will be received by a local variable m and instance variable n, and that will be assigned to a class variable x. Right now the class variable x value is 6. Right? Now we will call the answer function with a second object s2 dot answer, and here we will pass s1 as a object passing, right? So where we have passed s1 is an object of the square class, so that should be mapped with this object. Now this s will be replaced by s1, so this should be s1 dot x into s1 dot x. Okay, s1 dot x into s1 dot x, that means 6 into 6. S1 dot x means 6, and s1 dot x means again 6. So 6 into 6, 36, and then we will call the show function with the help of second object, that is s2, and in the show function it will just print the final value of the area of the square, that is 36. This is the way of how we can passing object through a function argument. Okay. Is it understandable to everyone? Is it clear to everyone? Anyone
Yes,
has
sir.
any question?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, very good. Now, this thing I will leave for you. Okay, returning object. That means instead of returning a variable in a function, we actually return a variable, return 0, return 1, or return A, B, C. So here we are returning an object. Okay, temp is an object of the class. Okay, and how we can return it. So that I am leaving to you. Okay, check it out at your home. If you feel any kind of problem, you can discuss with me in the next class. Okay. Now, this is the main objective of today's class, to show you the use of one of the very useful function in C++, that is friendly function or friend function. What I will say, friendly function or friend function. If you remember, while I was declaring or I was discussing the use of the private variable through a public function in a C++, because all of you know that private variable cannot be accessed outside of the class where it is declared, right? So we can access the private variable only with the help of public function of the same class. That means that public function should be the member of the same class. That is the basic logic that we need to follow, right? Now, is there any way in C++ that we can access the private variable by the help of a function which will not be a member of that public of that particular class where it is declared the private variable? Let me repeat again. Is there any way in C++ that we can access a private variable from a function, with the help of a function or through a function? That function should not be a member of the same class. Yes, there is a way, but this is only applicable for C++. There is another difference between C++ and Java. In C++, there is a role of the friend function or friendly function which you can use, okay, to access a private variable with the help of a function that will not be a member of that class. But in Java, it will not allow. There is no concept of friend function or friendly function in Java. In Java, you have to follow the similar approach which we have done till now to access a private member through that public function. There is only one way in Java to access. So there is a difference between Java and C++ in terms of friend function. Remember it. Okay. Now, these are the statement of the friend function. Due to data hiding feature of C++, the private data members of class cannot be accessed outside the class. So a function which are not member of the class, they cannot be accessed the private data of that class. That we all already know. In C++, there is a facility available to access private data of class, even if it is not a member function of that class, which I have already told. And that function will be referred to as friend function. Friend is a keyword, okay, in C++ among multiple keywords. As the name suggests, the function acts as a friend function of that class. Okay, so as all of you know that if we have a good friend, we can share all our important information or secure information with that friend based on the trust that he is my good friend. So in a similar way, the class will share all this information with the friend function, okay, of that particular class. So as a friend of class, it can access its private and protected members. Public member access, to access a public member, there is no restriction, as all of you know that. There is a restriction to access the other two members, private and protected. What is the use of protected member? That I am not going to show right now. While I am discussing the inheritance and polymorphism property, at that time I will show you the use of the protected member. Right now, not right now. Okay, but right now you will just understand this thing. Protected member is some kind of member which will access in between the private and public. It has some property of public. It has some property of private. Now, to make an outside function friendly to a class, declare the function as friend of that class. How we can declare a friend function? This is the way of declaring a friend function. We have to use a friend keyword, then a return type, if there is a return type, otherwise void, then function name, then argument length, if there is any argument. Okay, otherwise void. Now, generally, argument in friend functions are object type. That is very important to understand. In friend function, the arguments cannot be a normal variable. In friend function, the arguments are always object type. That means you will have to pass the object as argument, which I have already shown to you in the previous program, right? So because of outside the class, a data member cannot access directly, so an object can access it. Obviously, that data member will be accessed by an object. So just think about it. You have defined a function as a friend function and you are passing object to it, right? Now your job is to access the private data member of that class to which it is a friend function. So suppose the private data member is X. So how you can access the X variable within this friend function? By using object dot X. I think this understanding is clear to you up to this, because object can access a data member always with a dot operator. Without dot operator, it cannot access. So a function can be declared as friend for any number of class. It cannot be member function of any class. It has full rights to access private data of the class, right? But it is not a member of that class. What are the advantages of using friend function? We can able to access the other class members in our class if we use friend function. We can access the members without inheriting the class. Okay. So in future, we will learn an inheritance concept where you can inherit one class from the another class. So automatically the properties of the inherited class is coming to the class where you are going to inherit it. Okay. So parent class is inherited by its child class. So parent class properties automatically coming into the child class. So that thing you will learn in inheritance concept. And in that case, you don't need to use a friend function there, because inheritance will be enough to do this accessing concepts. Okay. But where you are not applying inheritance concepts, there you have to use friend function to access the private data member without the class member function if you don't declare it or define it. Disadvantage: maximum size of memory will be occupied by object according to the size of the friend member, because friend function is actually the arguments of the friend function is object type, so it will occupy some memory space. Okay, while you are declaring a friend function. Okay, break the concept of data hiding in OOPS. So friend function, it is highly non-influential, or you can say it is a disagree. We are disagree with the use of friend function too much with our program. Okay, if you have a way to handle the private data, then I suggest you to don't use friend function. Okay, because friend function is open the problem of security, data security or data hiding. Okay, data hiding concept will be entirely break by the help of friend function. Okay, so that is the problem in C++. Remember it. In Java, security is strong in this case. Security is much stronger in this case, because in Java there is no concept of friend function. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? If you are able to access a private data member from outside a class, okay, so the private access specifiers usage has been lost. Okay, the data hiding concept has been lost, because anyone can declare a friend function and can access a private data member. But in Java, this cannot be happen, because there is no conception of friend function in Java. So the private data member or the data hiding concepts remain intact in Java. Okay, so in this case, Java is much more stronger than C++. In interview, this question is coming. How Java is more stronger than C++ in terms of data hiding concepts, but how friend functions will create a weakness for C++ in terms of data hiding, and how Java will overcome it. Clear? Is it clear to everyone? Is this concept clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, let me show you the use of friend function. Friend function. Look at this program very carefully. It's a very simple program I have written for you. So this is a class, suppose mean class. Okay, our main job is to calculate the mean or average, whatever we say, of two variables, right? These are the two variables, int n1, n2. Obviously, these two are private variables. I didn't define anything, so these two are the private variables, right? Now there is one public function, get data. Okay, with the help of this public function, we have taken the input of these two private variables, right? We have taken inputs of these two private variables, right? Now we have defined one friend function. Of that class, we have defined one friend function, right? The friend function name I have given ans, ans, and answer, you can say, and it returns the float data type, and it will have an argument object m of this mean class. Okay, this is a mean class and m is the object of this mean class. So I have already told friend function always has an argument of object type, right? Now from this, we have defined the friend function outside this class. Look, we have defined the friend function outside this class. The job of the friend function, the task of the friend function. What is the task of the friend function? Is to do a average between these two values which you have taken as input through the get data function. How it can do the average? By using accessing the variables with the help of this object. How we can access it? m.n1 variable object name dot variable name plus m.n2 object name then dot second variable name, and then it is total divided by 2 and it will return the float value. Okay, and we have defined a main function here. Within the main function, we have to create an object of this class. Obviously, we have to create an object of this class, and by the help of this object, we are accessing the normal function, the public function of mean class, and we are directly print the value of the friend function here by passing that object m1. Okay, so here you have noticed one thing: you don't need to access the friend function with the help of object just like this. Okay, you can directly call this friend function because this friend function is not part of this main class. Okay, you have defined the friend function here. Okay, so we can directly, it will work like in this normal function. So you can directly call this function without the help of any object. Okay, so if we run it, so it will first demand the value of n1, that is 10. It will secondly demand the value of n2, that is 20. So it will give a mean value of it, that is 15. Is it clear to everyone? Tell me, what is the problem? Any problem? Anyone has any problem? Is it clear to everyone? Is the role of the friend function is
Yes, sir.
understandable to everyone?
Yes, sir.
It is very, very important. It is very, very important, the role of friend function. Okay, these are the characteristics. It is not in the scope of the class which it has been declared as friend. You can declare the friend function within the class, but definition should be done outside the class. It cannot be called using the object of that class, which we have already shown. It can be invoked like a normal function without the help of object. So that is the problem in C++. If we can invoke this friend function as a normal function, then it will actually dissatisfy the property of data hiding in C++. Okay, so anyone can call this friend function without creating any object by using the simple function name. And it cannot access data member directly. It must be use object with dot operator and data member. That we already know that object and data member can be used by the use of dot operator. It cannot be accessed data member directly, and normally it has object as argument. So its argument is object type. Okay. So this is all about the friend function. The last thing that I need to show, the use of constant function. The use of constant member function. What is the job of the constant member function? So this is also new to you. We have already know how to use a constant variable that we have learned in C. The same concept is applicable in C++. I have already shown in my previous program how we can define a constant variable, right? It's similar to C. But how we can define a constant member function? A member function can also be a constant. So here, the way of declaring a constant member function. Member function type, return type, member function name, argument list, and then followed by a const keyword and then semicolon. This is the definition, or not definition, sorry, it's a declaration, prototype declaration of a member function. We can declare it within a class in this way. So these are the two main concepts of the constant member function. The constant member function are the functions which are declared as constant in the program. The object called by these functions cannot be modified. This is very important. The object called by this function cannot be modified. It is recommended to use constant keyword so that accidental changes to object are avoided. So there is a use of constant function. What is the benefit of using constant function? If there is any accidental change occurs in object, then the constant function will disallow it. It will not allow you to accidental change of objects. Okay, you cannot modify the objects which you have called through a constant function. A constant member function can be called by any type of object. Non-constant function can be called by non-constant objects only. Okay, non-constant function, as we know that our normal function, whatever function we have used till now, all are non-constant functions. So we are not interested to deal with the non-constant function. We are interested to deal with the constant function. Okay, so this is the simple program I have defined for you to show the use of constant function. So there is a class demo. Within that class, I have declared one variable val, private type. There is one public function I have declared. Initialize a variable x equal to 0, val equal to x. Okay, so these things you have already know. I have already shown these things to you. Actually, this is a constructor, right? This is a constructor. Someone is thinking, sir, why you are not using a void in front of it? Because this is a constructor. In a coming class, in a next class, on Friday, we will discuss about the constructor. This is a constructor. Okay. What is constructor? Right now, I don't ask me. Okay, just right now you understand this is a constructor. It is a special kind of method. It is very much similar to a method, but there is a difference between a method and a constructor. What are the how we can define a constructor? What is the use of constructor? That we will discuss in our upcoming classes. Okay. So this is just like a method. We have defined a constructor here, and this is a method, a normal method, which is defined as constant. Okay. The method definition I have done here. The method definition without declaration, I didn't do any declaration. You can do it, you cannot do it, it's your choice. I directly did a method definition, a constant type method definition. How we can define a method definition in such a way? Okay, try to understand. The val which we have declared within the construct, which we have initialized within the constructor demo. Right. Now check out the main function. In the main function, we have created an object of this constructor class demo, of this class demo, which is also a constant type. We have also used a constant keyword. Why we have used a const object here? Can anyone tell me why we have used a const object here? Why we have used this const keyword in front of this?
It can't be modified like
yes. That object we don't want to modify in future. Okay, suppose I want to trying to modify this object in such a way. Demo d equal to 12. So the same object d and d. So I try to modify the object with a new value 12. Whether it will allow it or not. Let's run the program. Okay. So conflicting declaration demo d, previous declaration as constant demo d. So it will not allow you to modify the object anyhow. Okay, but you can create a defined object. There is no relation between d and d1. D1 is defined object. Okay, you can do it. So after these two things, I have just printed the two methods, get value method. Okay, to get the value by the help of this constant object d and non-constant object d. Okay, if we run it, we will get the two values which we have passed, 28 and 8. Clear? Is it clear? This is the last topic of today. Is it clear to everyone? Tell me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anyone has any doubt?
In sir, argument passing, object argument passing, the program that have you shown that we have taken two object. Okay. So without the declaring of new object, new memory space, okay, and it doesn't initialize the value. So how it print that value? Like, can I represent it?
What you are asking? Tell me.
Like just open the PPT, okay, PPT, and go to that object argument passing.
Object argument passing. This one.
Yes,
this
sir.
One.
Scroll down. Yes, sir. Scroll down. Yeah, here is you have declaring two object S1 and S2. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. S1 dot get data. No, clear. I don't read that one.
Actually,
Okay.
here I'm trying to initialize this object with this
Yeah.
value 6. Okay. So here object is actually acting like a pointer which will point the memory location where the 6 data has been stored.
Mhm.
That is internally these things will happen. Okay. So this object with the value of 6 is passing through this answer function. Okay. So that's why you will get the output 6 into 6, that is 36, because this answer is doing 6 into 6 for you.
Yes. Got it.
Understand? Okay. Okay, so I hope that you have understood. Today we have covered multiple topics. So in the next class, from the next class, we will. There is one more topic left. I don't have enough time to discuss that topic. I leave that topic for you. Okay. In upcoming class, if you don't understand, then in coming class I will discuss this topic pointed to member. Okay. You can just do it. Only one topic left in this PPT. Okay. So after this topic, this entire class and object chapter has been over. Then in the upcoming class, we are going to start with constructor and destructor, this new chapter and very new concept of C++. Okay.